our guest speaker tonight is David Kenealy, and we work together at the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center, where David is our Special Assistant for Innovation and Development. And in that capacity, he oversees two of our key initiatives. One is the Career Tech Academy, which provides hands-on workforce training for high school juniors and seniors in 3 counties. And the other thing that he oversees is Product Works. And so that's, I think, the initiative that he's going to really speak to you about tonight. David brings a wealth of experience to this capacity, including past experience as a plant manager for Highland House Furniture based in Mandawa, India, and director of quality assurance, engineering and sample making for Maitland Smith based in the Philippines. So without further ado, here's David Kenealy. David, thanks for being with us tonight.
Very much my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So tell us a little bit more about Product Works, what it is and what you do.
Thank you. I'd be happy to. And I'm going to be a little spontaneous right out of the gate, if that's okay. So I think the impression that I got, from the impression that I got from the entrepreneurs who introduced themselves and talked about their highs and lows and other things, that it's mostly entrepreneurs, small business owners from the service side of the economy. Product Works is more heavily weighted towards the product side. So I'm gonna introduce Product Works, who we are and what we do, but I would really, this is much more about those that are on the call, the entrepreneurs that are taking that journey to getting their business going. And if we can try to address any questions that they might have, I'd love for the conversation to be a two-way street that way. All right, without any further ado. So we are, as Hope has said, we're a division of the Southern Virginia Higher Education Center. Now, naturally, you would think that we're a training division. We would have students, but actually we don't. We are in the public sector. Our mission is to help the regional economic development and the economy. So inventors, entrepreneurs, small businesses, large businesses, medium-sized businesses, our client portfolio is very diverse. Typically either need to improve product that they're currently producing, in other words, design for manufacturing efficiencies, or they're trying to introduce new product into the marketplace. And that's our wheelhouse. We are turnkey abilities to take an idea, whether it's a conversation, whether it's a rough sketch, we're able to then typically take that idea or that sketch and convert it into digital information. So CAD drawings, 3D modeling. I think most audience has heard that a picture paints 1,000 words. So once we can see in 3 dimensions that physical product, even if it's in the virtual world, it just stimulates a lot further conversation about the strengths of that product or the weakness of that product, what the cost of that product might be, material selection, et cetera, et cetera. From there, that's what we would generally call, broadly call phase 1. If phase 1 continues in some interest and the client who we are working with says, yes, I feel good about phase 1, then we move into phase 2. And again, in broad strokes, phase 2 is a physical prototype. So we will move that digital data in a CAD or 3D model form into actually making that thing. And I say that, with a little comic relief. I call it a thing, but these can be simple products or they can be extremely complex products. A physical prototype, it's not that common that the first prototype will be a home run. In actually making it, you will have some discovery time. And in that discovery time, you'll understand that there's some improvements that could be made. And that then takes you into perhaps a second prototype. Now, I think this is really important to the audience, okay? Because this now, I'm going to leave the conversation from a technical viewpoint into a business development viewpoint. Sooner or later, you have to get that product into the marketplace. And that does not necessarily mean that you're, carried by a lot of distributors across the nation or across the world. You find potential customers that's willing to do a beta test. They're willing to take that product into their business or into their store or into whatever business environment they have and just get it in front of the public or in front of, vendors, in front of whoever your buying audience might be, and really get the feedback. Get real critical feedback from those potential customers on what they like or what they don't like, really at the end of the day, whether they would buy it or not. And we work very diligently with our clients to really take that step. If that step comes back and everyone still feels very positive about the true business opportunity, the real demand that there might be in the marketplace, then we'll either do a limited production run to get more beta test product out into the marketplace, or we'll do some iteration on the product that some you got some customer feedback from. We'll make some modifications of that. And then that third or fourth phase is truly now that particular product is being produced and sold out into the marketplace. So what I've tried to do, and I'm going to pause for a moment, I've tried to do is just go through a chain of events or a spectrum of activity that is most typical for Product Works to work with their particular clients.
No, I think that's great, and especially the iterative process and the beta testing. I think maybe that's something that our participants can really take something from, because even if you're on the service side, I think that's an important part of the entrepreneurial journey. So maybe you can talk more about that, and sort of from working with clients, have you seen, as you've worked with them through that process, have there been, any lessons that you've learned, any tips that you can share, or sort of sticking points that maybe they can avoid?
Yes. So customer relationships, good communication skills, because really you're asking a company or an individual or a store or whatever that business environment might be to help you with beta testing. They've got to have confidence in you as a person as much as the product. They have to want to help you. They've got to see the potential. And I tend to be glass half full instead of half empty. And I think, as I've heard expressed in this group, that whole support network, developing that support network is real important. You need somebody that, I've got to laugh, and I apologize. I haven't done a good job taking the names, but when we went through highs and lows, one of the participants said both the high and the low was the same thing. She had a chance to talk to a business owner and get some consultation from there, and that was a high, but the same low was talking to that business owner. So you need very real world feedback. You need somebody that's going to really know the aches and pains of what it means to run your own business and give you that good, honest, critical feedback. That doesn't mean that the feedback, you can't use it to your advantage. I'm gonna flip back to a product now. If the product doesn't feel right in someone's hand, let's say, or let's say that it doesn't perform a particular task that product is supposed to do as quite as efficiently as it should, then I'm going to go a little philosophical. Entrepreneurs tend to, their product, their service, it's their baby. They can get very emotional about it, is what we've experienced. You got to separate yourself from that emotion and from that pride and that expectation that you have in a product. You have to listen well to that critical feedback, and then you have to dig in and find out what you need to adjust your business model or your product or your service model, and then try to take that back and test that in the marketplace. It's a fine line, because all this has cost associated with it. It has the cost of time, it has financial costs, it has emotional costs, balancing all of that, which is again part of our initial discussion with all the other aspects of the lives that we live. So you don't want this to go on and on and on and on. I'm not suggesting that you make it a marathon, but it is a very fine line, and it's a very astute entrepreneur that understands that it's not likely that the world is going to accept what they're doing with open arms automatically. There's going to be some adjustment that needs to take place, but you can't refine it forever and ever and ever. There may come a time, I'll get very real, there may come a time when your product is not something that the marketplace is quite ready for. And then you've got to accept that and perhaps look in a different direction. So Hope, I don't know how well I've answered your question. If I've left some part of it out, please ask it again, and I'll go in that direction.
Yeah, no, I think that was great. And sort of going along with that, as you've worked with various clients, have you helped any of them scale? If so, how did that process work?
Yeah, that's always exciting, and we have some what we might call our poster, clients. Yeah, again, this whole spectrum that I've talked about, anywhere from a rough sketch all the way through, refining that into some CAD models to develop a prototype to going out into the marketplace. And we have a few customers now that the relationship is so solid. Just we've really learned to understand each other so well, and really take the approach that we're trying to work through right now, that once their product has been successful in the marketplace, they really don't want to take it to someone else for the manufacturing of it. Again, product works is mostly in the front end, product design and development, where our wheelhouse is not actually making a volume of product. But because of that close relationship that we've had with some select clients, we are actually now the production house for their product. Now, I take that to the next step. ProductWorks is relatively young, and what we're starting to experience are these clients that I'm referencing now. There's some risk management involved in it, because they're taking up enough of a percentage of our capacity that it's starting to challenge our ability to work with new clients. And that is really what our mission is, to help economic development in the region by helping entrepreneurs, inventors, businesses, expand what they're doing out in the marketplace. So great question, great timing on the question. Just this last week, we had a good, very productive business meeting with one of these clients about spinning off into their own facility. How we can contribute to that, how we can help this particular client do that and stay involved, but not be so dependent on the work that ProductWorks currently does for that client.
It's funny. There's a comment in the chat. Sonia says, "Sounds like ProductWorks is heading to expansion as well." So I happen to know that the ProductWorks that exists today didn't come out of the box that way. It's gone through an evolution. So maybe talk to us a little bit about how you've evolved and how you've sort of honed in on this particular service for your customers, because you could have gone in a lot of directions. So how did you hone in on the particular services that you offer?
I think it's interesting and important to note that, Hope, you were actually a big part of that. And the reason that that's important to this conversation is because one of the answers to your question is branding. Our branding and our for a long time, and it actually still remains today, we were a diamond in the rough. We not many people knew about the service that we bring to the region. And 9 out of 10, and that might even be conservative, it could have been as much as 10 out of 10 visitors that came into our facility and learned more about what we were doing just were kind of shook their head in amazement, with statements like, "I never knew you were here. Wow, how long have you been here?" That sort of thing. Now some of that, it's not fair for me to say that it was strategic. That wasn't our intention, but we had a lot of work, so we weren't really looking to go out and advertise to bring more work in. That might sound counterproductive, but we are a state agency. We're limited to what we can do as far as expansion and hiring. We depend on some funding from the state. So that's a whole budgetary process, which is quite a bit different in the public sector than it is in the private sector. But Hope, again, branding was a big part of that. That opened up some other opportunities for us. We moved to a new facility, and in that move, we realigned the efficiencies at which we work. I've heard some of the commentary in the beginning of this meeting about buying particular equipment or whether or not it's a a gym set that is larger than it should be at the time. I think that was very insightful to understand that the woman who shared that with us, for her to understand that what she needs now may not be the same as what she needs in the future. We think about that all the time when we make investments in technology. What is going to be our return on investment? How well does that technology fit into the physical space we have? What's the collateral effect of that? All of those sort of things. So it's yeah, it's all important.